Well, aloha and welcome to another episode of Omens, everybody. I'm JayDreamerZ. I love this segment where we just check out all the different omens, strange harbingers of the apocalypse as the world quickly changes around us. The people are changing, the animals, the events, the strange and anomalous patterns that we're seeing that are happening more and more, becoming more and more powerful and more noticeable over time. I last week posted a link so that you guys can share your omens with me, as we used to do. And I had a lot of submissions, a whole lot of different ones. We're going to check out a few of those to begin with today. I'm just going to double check the sound, make sure the sound is okay on you guys' side. Everything looks good, sounds good. Let's see, let me switch over to the live stream. There we go. All right, cool. Wayfair says popcorn's ready. All right, cool. What's up, everybody in the Good Vibe Tribe? High fives. High five to the Good Vibe Tribe. Good to see you guys. Thumbs up if it sounds okay, and we'll go ahead and get things started. Now, I'm gonna start things off. You have to bear with me because I'm using a new program, so it might be a little slower the first time around. But yes, so this first video is coming to us from Paul. This is Paul out of Liverpool in England. And this video over here, this was actually taken a couple of years back, but still shows some interesting things up here in the sky. Michael Carlson, thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. What's up, bro? Hey, Straight Jacket, White Rabbit. My little brother's in the chat today. Good to see you too. High five. All right, cool. I'm going to assume the audio is good. The videos are good. USMC Mike, thank you very much. All right, cool. Let's continue, and I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go. Now, Paul sent this one in to me. Let's check this one out. I'm doing some multitasking here, and I'm going to comment as we go. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see. He noticed when he zoomed in that there were these balls of light in the sky, off in the distance. And if you take a note, they're actually traveling. I think he said it was eastward. East or west, I can't remember, but they're all traveling in the same direction. Now they look like little meteorites or something, but they're moving very slowly, all in conjunct, all in a line right there. Didn't know what it was. I don't know what it is, but when I see these balls of light up in the sky, I see them all the time. I see them almost every night here in Colorado. I expect to see them now. These are the types of things that we never used to see. And almost every time people just dismiss it, they minimize it, they say, I don't know what that is. Isn't that weird? Even the news, they won't tell you what these things are, even though people around the world are seeing them time and time again. It looks like Orion's belt just drifting off. They're not stars. Definitely not. It's way too bright for these to even be stars. And you can also kind of see that there's this little glow kind of coming off of the back end of each one of these. Here, let's make it a little bigger, even bigger than it is. That way you can really get a good visual. There you go. Now, my theory on this, and oftentimes, I believe many of these balls of light that people are seeing in the sky are plasmoids, that they're actually a form of ball lightning, that the gases are ionizing and they're following the electrical current that exists in the area of the sky where they are. And a part of the omens that we go over is the concept that the Earth is releasing more and more of these gases. And it's contributing to the pressure, which harkens the pressure release, which is a huge part of the plasma apocalypse as I teach it. And if we skip forward here, you can actually see they drift off over the horizon over there, getting lower and lower. Not stars, not planes, not flashy blinky lights or anything, but I believe that oftentimes these are plasmoids that are seen by people around the world. If you've got videos of plasmoids like that, be sure to send them to me too. I'll check it out. All right, let's go to our next video here. Let's see, this next one, I've seen this one before. Somebody sent me this clip. This was taken off of, where is it, Guatemala? Yeah, Guatemala. So it's not AI. I try to double check a lot of these things. I've looked into this one before, And the title of it is Lightning Strikes a Volcano. However, if you pay attention to this video, the lightning comes up out of the volcano. And this is directly related to the plasma apocalypse as I teach it. Volcanoes being places of power, places where the gases are released and they ionize and they come up out of these places, right? So I talk about plasma volcanoes all the time. This is just a modern version on a small scale of what people can expect to see as the lightning comes up out of the different volcanoes around the world, but especially as ionized beams of light come up out of caves, cracks, crevices, volcanoes, and whatnot in the earth. This one was just a TikTok video that was shared with me. Let me see if I can give a shout out to who shared that one. Let's see. That one was... it doesn't say. Yeah, anonymous. Just as the anonymous share. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one. So this next one, this one comes to us of these rainbow clouds, these interesting rainbow looking clouds right there. I'm going to pause it. It's a very short video, which I appreciate too. I can't really share the videos if anyone sends me anything that's over 3 to 5 maximum, you know what I mean? If it's like 20 minutes or whatever, probably can't share it. But that one right there was sent to us from Adriana M out of Southern California, and it's an omen. The rainbow clouds, if I can get back to the video, the rainbow clouds are an omen. This rainbow color. We go through color spectrum shifts in this world. I'll go ahead and play that again. And you can see it right there. The rainbow cloud. I'll pause it right there on the rainbow cloud. You see that right there? Now, the appearance of the rainbow is one of the last and final omens before the apocalypse comes, as far as the color spectrum shift goes. In the beginning, there's no color. In the beginning of our world, as we go through these transitions, everything is dark. Everything is black. And then we have one color at the beginning, which I believe is purple. It's the purple dawn. And that has a lot to do with the initial gases that are released into the atmosphere and become ionized, and it lights up the sky purple. But then it eases into a red spectrum color, and then an orange, and we have a golden age, an amber glow, a yellow color. And as it progresses, more and more colors start to appear. Right? The sun itself goes through color spectrum shifts. You might remember it used to be yellow, and now it's white and blue, basically, whenever it's high up in the sky. All right, sweet. Let's go on to the next one. Here's another good example of the sun. This video comes to us. Let's see, this one. Let's see, this one is from... It does not say, actually. So we'll say this one's anonymous. And there are instructions if you guys want a shout out. You gotta put your name in the subject line. But anyways, this one was really interesting to me. Not just because of like the black looking chemtrail deal that we have here, but because of the color of the sun. Like I try to point out to people all of the time, the sun's just white. And if you zoom in on it, it usually has a blue corona around it as well. This one's just showing the strange effect. I've seen this before. They wanted me to actually check out the strange blackness. You know, it's got the weird chemtrail obviously right there, and then like this shadow it looks like it could be above it or below it. But I've seen that time and time again. It always blows my mind. But the major omen here is not the man-made clouds in the sky. That is an omen, as is the different types of clouds that we have today as opposed to 50 years ago. There's like 50 different classifications of clouds. When I was a kid, there was 3. But the sun itself, being that blindingly white ball up in the sky, getting hotter and hotter. All right, cool. Let's move on to this next one here. The next one is a picture, actually, that I found to be pretty cool. So I'm going to share this picture with everybody. All right. Let's take that one down, put the picture up. This was a sweet statue that was sent to me in China. So this is a statue in China, and I believe this is basically the Squatter Man image. This is the image that I share with you guys all of the time of the plasma wrapping around the promised land, wrapping around the Garden of Eden at the bottom, creating a little protective barrier, shooting all the way up. And then you have this point right there in the middle. Remember we did that Eye of Sauron video where Jesus was depicted so many times in the Dark Ages and the medieval times as being within like this Vesica Pisces or whatnot. That's what it is right there in the middle. That's right at the rib cage of that light, if the light is like a person or personified, right? That one comes to us from looks like Steven sent that one to us, aka Vardath. Thank you so much, Steven. I appreciate it, and thanks for your note as well. All right, cool. Let's check out the next one that we have. One more coming up as far as the viewer submissions go, and this last one's going to be a video as well. Oh yeah, this one, is this the whale? Oh yeah, this is the whale. Okay, so I'm not going to share this one as a video form because I have it pulled up in large format. So that's the viewer submissions. 1 second, we're going to kick things off and go over to the headlines. Okay, so let me get rid of that, and then we'll pull up the headlines here. And I've actually got the video in its full length. I like it when it's sideways like that. It's just my personal preference. All right, now let's play with the aspect ratio so we can all see it. I've shared with you guys maybe a year and a half ago, videos of whales swallowing kayakers, right? Just gulped them on down, remember? Here's a brand new one. Check this out. So there's the kayaker, and he's gone. Just got swallowed up, Pinocchio style. Now I popped back out over here. Obviously, the whale's not going to like swallow all of that. And look at that. Do you see that? Hold on. It's not AI, okay? This is all very real. And then the guy goes up there. He's got his GoPro camera hooked up to his kayak and stuff. Helps the guy out and stuff. But let's check it out one more time. So here he is. And then you can actually see. Watch this. Watch the whale pop up. This is amazing. Boom. And then he starts yelling at the guy like, hey, look out. So yeah, this is a huge omen for me whenever you've got the animal kingdom acting up and acting strange, whenever they're turning on humans or even becoming more benevolent and starting to talk and speak and things like that. These are little glimpses of the world to come for me. Very interesting. That was my buddy Michael out of Steamboat Springs. Thanks, Michael. You always share the coolest stuff. And I think that was it as far as the viewer submissions go. Now, I did have about 30 submissions, a lot of submissions. If you would like to leave your submissions, go to my posts tab, and there's a link right there. I think it might be on my website too. I should have included that on my website. Just click on that link and you can upload. Do follow the instructions. And if you do, and you know, I want to share it with everybody, I will. However, I had to keep a lot of these out because I couldn't tell what they were. That was, you know, sometimes that was an issue. Sometimes the video was way too long for me to watch, like 20-30 minute videos. I can't even download those. So yeah, just a short, sweet, to the point, couple of sentences, like here's what you're checking out, here's what it is, here's what to look for. And yeah, you might end up, your submission could end up being shared on our Omens episode. Thank you all so much for your submissions. Now let's check out some other stuff that we've got going on. I'm going to start here. World of Signs YouTube channel. I've promoted his channel. I reached out to this person personally, and they gave me permission to share their stuff every once in a while. There's many different videos. They do compilations. Here's a video that somebody took in Vietnam of something that was happening with the sun. Hold on, let me back that up a bit. Okay, so right after this, you can see that they captured this image right here. There's the sun over here, and then you have this sun halo, which is really interesting because it's kind of offset when you look at it. Usually the sun would be directly in the middle, but it's a little offset in this middle circle. But then it's bisected by this other sun halo, and there seems to be some other stuff happening here. So I really want to talk about this because the signs that we see in the sky are of the utmost importance to me personally. And that's what the ancients did, is they watched the heavens. They watched the luminaries because they knew the apocalypse was directly tied to the sky. Why? Because the sky opens up. The sky is uncovered, which is literally the meaning of the word apocalypse. But let's check this out, because this reminded me of another presentation we did whenever we went over the different strange and anomalous pictures that are featured within a book from the Middle Ages, the 1500s, called Book of Miracles. The Book of Miracles. Remember that one? If you want to check out my breakdown, this is it right here. So you just go type in 1550 AD, Book of Miracles. Should show right up. Should be the first one there. But this is one of the images that they showed. And I'll jump out of the way so you can see it a little more clearly here. So you can see it's the exact same or very similar picture of a second circle that bisects the sun that also has a halo around it, right? Now, let's take these concepts and these strange anomalies that we see in the sky, and these people saw in the sky during cataclysmic times and strange and anomalous weather events during the quote-unquote dark ages. And let's apply them to the modern age. This is an omen because it is showing us the firmament itself, the dome that exists above us, is showing us and revealing itself to us in the sky. It's reflecting itself through the sky. The firmament is not just a simple bowl. It's bowl in nature, right? Just like the earth isn't completely flat. It's got mountains and valleys and stuff. The firmament itself has different portions to it, different ways that it bends and moves. In general, it's a bowl shape, okay? It's like we live in a snow globe. But, for example, at the very top, there's what I call the apex dome. So here's an example of reality in our world down here, what it looks like when we're under that dome, okay? And the light passes through. Modern academics will start bringing these things up. People are seeing these more and more and more. I never saw stuff like this when I was a kid. That would be amazing if I ever saw something like that. Lady Dagger Status, high five. Welcome to the Good Vibe Tribe. Good to see you. All right, so this is what we see normally in the waking world. This is what it is, or this is a type, okay? I'm just showing you images so you can get a feeling for what we're looking at here, right? So here's the real world behind me. They'll call these sundogs. They'll say that, it's just the light refracting and reflecting off of crystals in the atmosphere. That's lovely. That's a wonderful explanation, but it doesn't really get into detail, does it? It doesn't really explain why we see 1, 2, 3 different suns, and why so often these sundogs and sun halos and atmospheric phenomenon are in the shapes that they're in. So check this out. Let's just see some more examples here. This is one of my favorite ones when they really just light up the entire sky. So this right here would be where the sun is, aka the focal point that's under the dome. The light is passing through the firmament itself. The firmament is ice. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute, okay? The firmament is made out of ice. It's compared to things like rock or glass or, other things like that, molten metal, stuff like that. But I believe 100% that it's ice, and I'll explain why. But we see these types of images, right? So what's happening is that the light, it's acting like a hologram. And when the light hits like vapor and things like that, it can act as a projection screen for the source of the light. In short, we're seeing the shapes of the firmament. We're seeing optical effects at work as some shapes are distorted, meaning that they're much larger or smaller or off-center or whatnot. This is why the ancients paid attention to the sky. But notice this shape right here, okay? You see how it bows inward? Right there, that 100% has to do with the shape of the dome. That is a reflection or a projection of the apex dome, the very top of the dome where it bows inwards. It's an inverted dome at the top of the regular bowl shape, right? And here's what it looks like normally, as you can see when light passes through a glass of water, right? Here's the water behind me, the light's passing through it, and you can see down here, you see how there's this little dome, this little bubble shape right there? That has to do with the bottom of the glass. Oftentimes the bottoms of the glasses, they have a little depression or indentation that goes upwards, right? So the light is revealing the shape of the lens that it's passing through, which is what we see in our atmosphere. right? Let me jump out of the way for this one too. This right here is a perfect example of the apex dome dipping down. Humpty Dumpty, one of these days it'll probably fall down from the sky. But anyways, this is the top of the firmament, I believe. Okay, and it's being revealed to us. Let's take a look at some other examples here. Now, within optics, this is called a caustic network. Okay, whenever you have the light that passes through a medium like water, glass, etc., and it casts a projection of that medium, right? It says in optics, a caustic or caustic network is the envelope of light rays which have been reflected or refracted by a curved surface or object, right? So if you're seeing this in the sky, there's an object that the light is going through. That object is the dome. It's the lens of our world, a magnifying glass, if you will, or the projection of that envelope of rays on another surface. In our case, it's the very sky itself. It's all the little particles that make up, the sky, those crystals that they like to talk about, right? And then down here, it says caustic pattern designs has many real-world applications. For example, jewelry, architecture, decorative glass production, but most notably, they used the word luminaries. I thought that was very interesting. You can also see it here. Here's another example, a larger example of the light passing through the glass. Let me jump out of the way for this one. I really like seeing these types of displays here. So you can see this at the bottom is also the apex dome. It's just what it looks like from directly underneath, right? You've got the 4 rivers of paradise right there, and then the apex dome bowing out. There's some other optic effects that are going on. Here's another example of it. You can see at the bottom right here, it's showing you the light reflecting the shape and revealing the shape of the lens or the glass in this case, right? The light rays are passing through these portions of the glass and they're changing shape as they go through. It actually creates a focal point right here. This would be the sun on this small scale example. And then this is daylight that's being redistributed, right? So this is the dome right over here. The light of the heavens, or the light from the plasma vortex on the other side, passes through. Pardon me. And it creates these spectacles that we see up in the sky. Here's another example. Oh, shoot, I'm in the way still. Hold on. Boom. Oh, that wasn't it. There we go. So there's another example right here. You can see it even creates that crescent shape, right? This is one of the religious symbols throughout antiquity that people have seen in the sky. The bull's horns, the holy cow. And here's some different shaped glasses that produce these different images on the other side. You see that? Depending upon the shape of the lens, it will give us different shapes or anomalies in our sky. Here it is again. Now I really want to focus on this particular part right here. This, I believe, reflects the apex dome. All right. And the reason I feel this is very important to us and, connecting it with the apocalypse and omens and things is what once was will be again. Okay. If the ancients had a better cosmology, a better understanding of not just the shape of the surface and the land that we live on, but of the very sky, the very firmament, the vault of the heavens, the Velkin, the dome above us. If they had a better understanding of that dome and the different layers of it, which there are 7, by the way, then they could better understand these projections that it's casting, these points of focus and projections and how they're acting up, and when to be weary of them, right? So let's focus on this one right here. You might see it as sort of a vesica Pisces or an eyeball shape, but don't think two-dimensionally. Imagine this is a bowl shape that's stuck at the top of the firmament, right up there, okay? And you're looking at it from a peripheral or a side view, all right? Let's look at it one more time because I'm going to share some images that are related here, okay? So it's not so much an oval as it is a dome that comes down from the sky. And I'm not saying that's what it is in this picture. I'm saying this is a projection, like a hologram, that's revealing the lens that it passes through, or the lens that, wraps around our entire world. All right, cool. Now that we've done that, let me move forward. This is just one of hundreds of examples of that same apex dome. as you can see here, I'll jump out of the way again. This is portrayed throughout the Dark Ages and the medieval times, the Middle Ages. For about 1,000-year period, I've just come across hundreds and hundreds of examples of the dome, the apex of the dome, of the firmament. This is it. It's an inverted bowl that faces downwards towards us. This is the all-seeing eyeball that is staring down at our world. And they'll give you clues within all of these pictures. For example, this one right here, let's count the number of stars, right? That seem to be a constellation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 stars. This shape up there in the heavens is responsible for projecting the 7 planets. Okay, I know people, might think there's 9 or there's a certain number or whatever, but in antiquity there was these 7 right here. Okay, this is also the 7 sisters, and this is the Bear constellation. This is directly related with the North Pole, which is where this is. This is directly above the geographic North Pole in the sky at the top of the dome, and they're showing you the location. They also put stars in here, they put the moon in here, they put the sun in here sometimes, because it is the firmament that is responsible for these luminaries and their shapes. It's also notable at the birth of Jesus in various drawings, or the transfiguration, or his baptism. And they'll put all these different symbolic elements, which we've broken down time and time again, but most notably the star that the wise men followed so that they can find the light of the world, right? Which comes up out of a mountain, which is the plasma volcano, like we initially discussed, right? But this is the apex of the dome. Also notice the golden sky, right? The golden age, the golden sky, as they do this many different times throughout the Dark Ages. But anyways, this is the inverted dome, and the light is passing through that, and it creates a holographic type of projection into our sky from time to time under the right conditions, and the very firmament is revealed to us. And like I said, I believe it's made out of ice. The gases up there encounter so much pressure because of the strong electromagnetic field that they're opposed to, right? And all that pressure is rushing up, and then it reaches this magnetic wall that's created by the Earth itself that makes a little bubble over our world. And the temperatures are so low, those gases go from gas straight to solid. They skip over the liquid phase, okay? Now, they turn into ice. It talks about this. This is a chapter 27 from the book of Enoch, about God creating the firmament. And it tells you here, and this is just one example, of what the firmament is made out of. According to the book of Enoch, it says of how God founded the water. Here, I'll move out of the way for this one so you can read along. Of how God founded the water and surrounded it with light, and established on it 7 islands. And I commanded that there should be taken from light and darkness, and I said, be thick. That's of particular interest right there. Be thick, right? The water. He's talking about the waters above becoming thick. And it became thus. And I spread it out with the light, and it became water. And I spread it out over the darkness below the light. So the light on the other side of the dome. And then I made firm the waters. That literally is the firmament. That is to say, the bottomless. And I made the foundation of light around the water and created 7 circles. This is the shape, a portion thereof, of the firmament, made out of 7 different circles from inside. And I imagined it, the water, like crystal, wet and dry, so that it is to say, like glass. You see that? And the circumcision of the waters and the other elements, and I showed each one of them its road, or its path, and the 7 stars, each one of them in its heaven, that they go thus. And I saw that it was good. And I separated between light and between darkness, that is to say, in the midst of the water, hither and thither, or here and there. And I said to the light, that it should be the day, and to the darkness, that it should be the night. And there was evening, and there was morning, and that was the first day. But let's continue on. We're going to read the next chapter as well. So that was chapter 27. I'm going to just give you a little more context, and I want to read the next one as well. I like to read the chapters before and the chapters after just to give myself a bit more context. So this next chapter in the book of Enoch says, "The week in which God showed Enoch all of his wisdom and power throughout all of the 7 days, how he created all of the heavenly and the earthly forces, and all of the moving things, even down to man." It goes on. "And then I made firm the heavenly circle, and I made the lower water, which is under heaven, collect itself together into one whole. And the chaos became dry, and it became so. Out of the waves I created rock, hard and big, and from the rock I piled up the dry, and the dry I called the earth. And in the midst of the earth I called the abyss." I want to comment on that. In the middle of the earth is at the North Pole. At the center of the North Pole, or the circular island at the North Pole, which is the Garden of Eden, there is a holy mountain. That holy mountain is a plasma volcano, the largest one that there is, with the widest, opening to contain the largest volume of ionized gases. In short, it has the largest beam of light, or light pillar, that will shoot up from the center of the earth. And it says, in the middle of the earth, I called that the abyss. That is the bottomless pit. It even goes on to say, that is to say, the bottomless. Okay? It's bottomless because it goes all the way through the earth, down into the hollow earth, all the way down to the central star, or the smoky god, if you know that reference, right? It goes on to say, let's see. "That is to say, the bottomless. I collected the sea in one place, and I bound it together with a yoke. And I said to the sea, Behold, I give thee thy eternal limits, and thou shalt not break loose from thy component parts. Thus I made fast the firmament. This day I called me the first created." So right there, plain as day, it says in the book of Enoch, I am describing to you the creation of the sky, the solid portion thereof, the container of what we call the sky when we look up and we just see atmosphere or blue or stars or the sun or the moon and all of those things that are under that container. Now, when all of those luminaries and all of those strange things that are under that container start acting up, going into and out of focus, moving into different positions, new stars being seen, old ones disappearing, all of these anomalies, we know that there is something happening with the light that is fluctuating on the other side of it, right? Because they're created by that light passing through the optical lens of the dome itself. When it hits the anomalies and places it never really hit before, as that light is spiraling down over that dome, okay? Keep in mind it's fluctuating, okay? It's moving in and out. Sometimes it fluctuates too far out. Sometimes it fluctuates too far in, and that will change depending on which part of the firmament that light passes through and is now touching. It will change the way we see things in the heavens. Now, this is also related. I found this video to be particularly interesting. This guy does this experiment where he's holding up a black piece of cardboard and he's got a bucket down underneath it. You see that little orange bucket? The bucket is full of water. So the light from the sun is reflecting the surface of the water and it's projecting onto his little black piece of cardboard. The point of this experiment was to show the clear and obvious similarities that exist between a circular projection of light down here on the earth, right? A small scale, repeatable, scientific experiment, and its connection to how stars look when you view them through binoculars and telescopes and things of that nature, right? So if I skip forward a bit, he shows you a comparison of the actual stars. So here you can see this is Betelgeuse, the star. He's got many different other ones. I'm sure you guys have seen all these different examples. Sirius, the star, right? This is what stars look like. That's due to the waters above, and the light is passing through those waters. All right, very good. Let's move on. Now, on a related note, right? Remember I said the rainbows are some of the final signs of the apocalypse. get used to them now, because in the world to come, there's not likely to be any rainbows. Okay. I found this post. They say this is an anti-flat earther post, and they're trying to like make some kind of a point for the globular model. If the earth is flat, why are rainbows like this? And their whole point is trying to show you, I guess, that the earth is spherical or a globuloid, because this is the shape of rainbows, right? However, many people picked up on that and said, have you ever wondered why a rainbow is shaped like a dome? This is why. Oh, it's kind of hard to see the whole picture there, but there's a little flat earth and a dome above it right there. But that is why. That is exactly why the rainbows are shaped like a dome. It doesn't make sense that, it's just passing through all little water droplets and it's because of how what do you mean it's because of how they're becoming vague all of a sudden when trying to describe why the light is bending in a dome shape or a dome pattern, right? This is a dome. Okay. If you look at it from above, it'll be a circle or whatnot. Just like if you look at the apex dome from directly below, it will look like a circle. However, it's not. Stephanie Cook, high five. Good to see you. Welcome back to the Good Vibe Tribe. All right. Let's continue on. Now I'm going to head over to Mr. MBB333, his channel. He also is a channel that I like to follow because whether he knows it or not, he is recording the omens, some of the omens of the apocalypse. In this particular video, this is one of his recent ones from May 19th. He shares this. It says magnetic field was temporarily crushed. And then he shows some examples of the magnetic field of the earth going into fluctuation. That's a huge omen of the apocalypse. Okay. It's not just the magnetic field. It's the electromagnetic field that is going into flux, which helps to explain in some of his other videos. He has this many, all these little points of light. This is a map. Okay. He's got over, 1,300 examples of viewer submissions, right? Just like how you guys send me stuff, his viewers send him things. And he's got over 1,300 examples of strange and anomalous events of lights that are just flashing all across the world. And sometimes it's an individual light. That's easy to write off. But when it's an entire apartment complex and all the lights are flashing, or a whole street and all the lights are flashing and everything, right? Gas stations, etc., it becomes pretty compelling. So let me see if I can find a decent example here, maybe. So, he'll pause it and stuff. There's an example there. Here's an example here. Oh, this one was pretty interesting. Look at that. You see how it's all over the place? And like I said, he has thousands of these examples. And the more he shares, the more compelling it is. I 100% believe that this has to do with the electromagnetic fluctuation of the Earth's electromagnetic field, inside and outside. When the Earth's electromagnetic field starts going into flux, we have things like this that are happening. It leads up to this time of magic and like they went through during the Dark Ages, monsters and stuff like that, which is why you see the whole lights flickering in horror movies and stuff too. Here it is again, the whole street right there. All those lights just flickering, going out of control. It's also the same reason why lights, when you walk under a street lamp, some of you, the lights will turn off, right? It's because of your electromagnetic field interacting with those. Hold on, I want to see that one. So here it looks like a gas station. A lot of these places are happening around gas stations too. The lights flickering and whatnot. And then he points out another video of an orb in the sky. Lots of different channels out there pointing out these orbs that are in the sky. Like I said, they're most likely balls of plasma as those gases are being released, right? They come together and sometimes they're ionized and you can see a ball of light. When they're not ionized is when you will see an orb that sort of just distorts the image behind it or the background behind the orb. And I've seen one of those, and it's otherworldly when you see these types of orbs, right? They can easily be captured on closed circuit television cameras because they pick up different wavelengths of light than our eyes do, right? So it's easier. Same as trying to capture a ghost on camera. Oftentimes the camera will see it, but you can't. And it has to do with the wavelength of the light. Another thing that people are capturing a lot of lately are sky beams. pillars of light just shooting up from the earth. Sometimes they look like they're coming down, sometimes look like they're going up, but this is 100% an omen that this is happening so often. These sky beams that people are capturing, as you can see there, okay? Sometimes they're in the form of blue jets, which is a transient luminous event, similar to sprites and stuff like that, but that's usually way up higher in the atmosphere, and they sort of begin up there and then they shoot upwards. But these ones that people are capturing go all the way to the ground. Light, just a beam, a pillar, a column of light that is shooting up from the earth, right? These, I believe, oftentimes are either an omen of, or they themselves are, geoplasmas, right? So that's the earth depressurizing through these inner earth zephyrs, or the breath of the earth, the inner earth wind, the gases that release very quickly in a particular cave, or like I said, a volcano or things like that. They ionize, they become light, and that light shoots up into the sky, right? And sometimes they last for a while, sometimes 20, 30 minutes or longer. Sometimes it's just a quick release as the Earth's electromagnetic field is fluctuating down in the bowels of the Earth as well, right? And when it goes through a quick fluctuation, you might see a quick little flash of, a pillar of light. And in the world to come, you'll see these everywhere, okay? People will flock to these and establish their very first cities around these poles, which is why they're called metropolises or metropolises. Here's another one from spacealert.com. It says NASA is watching a huge growing anomaly in the Earth's magnetic field. And then they show you, the picture or whatever of the Earth and the anomaly of the electromagnetic field. So they're letting you know, whether it's disclosure or not, that this is of concern. Oftentimes they'll tell you, oh, it's no problem. When the Earth's electromagnetic field goes into fluctuation or flips and the poles flip, this happens all the time. It's not, you won't even notice. Yes, you will. It's the exact opposite, okay? When the apocalypse comes, which happens during the neutral point of that polarity shift that we are now going into, there will be no denying it. You won't be able to get on the internet. You won't be able to turn on the news and find out what's going on. Your entire world will come crashing down. Your entire, what you thought of as reality, will be completely and utterly changed in a very short time, in the blink of an eye, as it says in the Bible. And it's going to catch a lot of people off guard because they're conditioning you not to even worry about it. It's totally fine. Meanwhile, they're all building underground bunkers. They're all trying to get closer and closer to the North Pole and move in on the Garden of Eden. They're building spacecraft to try to get out of this world whenever the sky opens up so they can go, be the Anunnaki on other Earths out there or whatever. Next up, here's another example, same type of thing, space.com. They've got this strange looking light pillar, right? Now, sometimes, even if it's not a geoplasma, because sometimes they show you like what they call rockets or whatever, re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Listen, I in the 90s, in the 80s, okay, back when I watched TV a bunch, all right, they didn't do that. No matter, even if it was a rocket blasting off or landing, they didn't do that. It never did that. Don't you guys remember? Rockets did not do this a couple decades ago. Now they're saying, oh yeah, the rockets, that's definitely a rocket. It's probably Elon Musk. It's probably NASA. No, it's probably not. Okay, this is strange celestial events, anomalies, weird things that are happening in our skies. And I would say this is these weird things, spirals, all that weird stuff looks like they're splashing up into the waters above, leaving trails and stuff. What they call steves, which is these plasma filaments, those are tentacles of Cthulhu. Okay, like I don't know if you know who Cthulhu is, but those are the tentacles of the Kraken in the ocean above us. Plasma. Basically, they're plasma conduits, okay? And these, the ones that come down are very powerful. The ones that they're calling Steve, which is probably not this because usually those are more of a red spectrum color. Anyways, very, very interesting. The night sky offered lucky sky watchers an unexpected double feature on May 17th, a surprise geomagnetic storm. Now, sometimes they call it a geomagnetic storm, and sometimes they say it's a solar solar storm or whatever, right? It's Mother Nature. It's the earth we live in. The sun is a part of that. Keep that in mind. A mysterious white plume, much like auroras. Anyways, they'll start saying how there was a solar storm and there was a coronal mass ejection. I don't believe in all that crap as far as the sun being billions of miles away and spinning. The sun is spinning, right? So 360 degrees in every direction. And you know the odds of it, of even if that were true and it had a coronal mass ejection and it just spat in one direction, some plasma, which is what that is or would be. The earth is spinning and wobbling and tilting and flying around as this thing is also spinning and stuff. The odds of that always hitting us as it does, like every week, unbelievable. There's no way possible. Anyways, I'm like ranting on that one. But anyways, somewhere in here they blame it on rockets. Oh yeah, SpaceX rocket launch. It's all SpaceX these days. They're just blaming it on that. They say here, but the real head turner came when a streak of bright white light lit up the sky over Colorado. I'm sad I didn't get to see this because I live in Colorado and other parts of the United States. At first glance, you could be mistaken for thinking that it was a strange version of Steve. I really hate that they call it Steve. They say that these red bands, these red ribbons, which are plasma filaments that are dangerous, okay, very hot ones, they're not cold plasmas like the earth energy that comes up, like those geoplasmas that I talk about. These are dangerous hot ones, okay, that can burn you, petrify things, stuff like that. They call it Steve because they want it to sound non-threatening. Non-threatening Steve, right? It's the exact opposite, okay? It's extremely dangerous. A rare atmospheric phenomenon that can accompany the northern lights. Yeah, those Steve ones can be seen way far away from the northern lights too. But skywatchers quickly realized it was something entirely different. The aurora was rippling low on the northern horizon when suddenly a bright streak of light reminiscent of a rocket re-entry appeared high in the sky and flowed down to the horizon. JJ, what's up, JJ? Labajo. JJ Labajo, welcome. Good to see you. All right, let's continue on. Next up, I'm going to be talking about this beach in California. Now, check out the color of the water before we even go much further. You see that right here? That's green. Okay, this green tint to the water is bad, and we talk about that all of the time here on my channel. Now, let's see what the article says. The article says, popular Bay Area beach, and make it smaller, is one of the most polluted in the United States, right? It says nearly 3 out of 4 samples from the beach showed high bacteria levels. And this is one of the omens that we talk about. What is happening, not just with the heavens. I'd say the heavens would be first and foremost. But second, for me personally, is the ocean, because it represents most of the surface where we live, okay? The ocean also is a huge contributor of what they call greenhouse, gases or whatever. It adds to the pressure, which is going to quicken the pressure release, which is the plasma apocalypse. But all this green water, this is bad. Bacteria, this is toxic water. The waters are becoming wormwood, as it's described in the book of Revelation in the Bible. Okay? And they talk about all the bacteria levels that are in the waters. Algae blooms, harmful algae blooms, massive bunches of seaweed washing up all the time now, right? But the main point that I want to repeat for those who might be unfamiliar is that the ocean is going to produce neurotoxins. Okay, all these algal blooms and stuff like that. The greener the ocean gets, the more neurotoxins, the more toxins in general, it's going to put into the air that we breathe, which is going to affect us pretty soon. It's already affecting some people, depending on how close you live to these beaches and lakes and stuff that are all turning green. But it's going to start hurting you. Okay, it's going to have a bad effect on human life. And this is one of the huge omens in the book of Revelation. It talks about the ocean turning red, which is red tide. And it talks about the different horsemen of the apocalypse and the plagues and the things that happen. Real ones, not like, 2020 or whatever, all that stuff. That was just them preparing to see how people are going to react when it really does happen. Okay. And it's no virus or anything like that. It's nature that's putting these pollutants and toxins, and it's not you. Okay. It's not you throwing didn't they have Taco Bell in this thing somewhere? Hold on. Taco Bell. Yeah, check this article out. Let me just read this part. Linda Mar Beach in Pacifica, which is perhaps best known as the home of the most beautiful Taco Bell in the country, has some of the most polluted waters. Imagine that. The waters right next to the Taco Bell are polluted. Anyways, I'll let you figure that out. All right, let's continue on. This article says, how a manga prophecy. Now, hold on. For you older people, let me explain what these words mean, okay? Manga, anime, all these different types they're cartoons, okay? Just so you know, you could just replace the word manga with cartoon or comic book, okay? Same, it's just an Asian style, Chinese, Japanese, whatever it may be, comic book or cartoon for you older people, okay? How a manga prophecy has stirred panic among travel firms and airlines in Japan. Now, for all intents and purposes, the comic book that the people in Japan are reading has prophesied, or in and of itself has been an omen and predictor of catastrophic events locally within the area of Japan. So basically, in short, this manga, this Japanese comic book, there's definitely the one eye symbolism right there, right? This person shared it as a real life comic of their real life dreams that they were having, from what I understand. So the people are like, wow, this person dreamed of events that are actually happening. There was a huge earthquake that the manga basically predicted, and it basically came to pass. And now it's saying that sometime in July of 2025, which is interesting to me because that's, the early portion of July is, just after the summer solstice, right? The 4th of July specifically. But 2025, they're predicting this manga, this person's dreams, predicts that there's going to be some kind of catastrophe in Japan specifically, right? And I love that kind of stuff because I believe that there is significance to our dreams, especially when you're dreaming. It's hard to explain because this is more of a dream world, dream walking, JayDreamerZ type evidence or proof. Okay. But sometimes when you know, all right. And sometimes our dreams smack us right in the face and let us know like, hey, this is important. And they jolt you. They jolt your emotions. They jolt your awareness. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, those dreams tend to drift off as you go throughout this weird world that we live in. So I'm going to keep my eyes on Japan this coming summer. Now, speaking of volcanoes, this is a map of all the different volcanoes that are currently active on Earth. This is a bunch. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom in on this for just a second here. So we've got minor activity in yellow, and those that are actually currently erupting right now as we speak in red. And they're pretty much all over the place. So I'll zoom back out, but they're a whole bunch, okay? So let me zoom back out. This is huge. Why? Well, if you ask the professionals, if you ask your teachers or professors or, Professor Dave or some douchebag, they'll probably tell you, oh, this has always been happening. It's always been like that. You're just a crazy conspiracy theorist, like you need to wake up and go back to elementary school. These things have always been happening. No, I disagree. They have always been happening, but not in this magnitude, not this much. And if you look up the official reason, they'll grasp at straws and they'll say, oh, well, maybe it's probably because there's more technology, there's more cameras, people are just sharing it on the internet more. And, all those volcanoes, people never knew they were there. And so, I don't believe that. I believe there's some truth to that. However, here's the list, okay? Here's the list. On this list is the currently erupting. These ones are like minor eruptions, okay? If you put these together, there's probably, I think I counted this list and there was like 38 eruptions, active eruptions, okay? And this minor eruptions list is like gases that are coming out and debris and things of that nature, right? It's even bigger. So together there's probably 70 or 80 different volcanoes that are currently active in some way, shape, or form in our world. So I asked ChatGPT, how does that compare to the number of active volcanoes 50 years ago? I just threw a nice round number out there. And it says about 50 years ago, in the 70s-ish, the average number of ongoing volcanic eruptions worldwide at any given time was about 10 to 15. Okay? The increase, now here's the explanation. The increase is likely due to improved global monitoring. Yeah, back in the 70s, like there was no, they didn't have telephones. They didn't have any kind of, way to, they just went beep, 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 and, used Morse code, right? Back in the 70s. I doubt it. It's not, okay? More complete reporting than we have today. Okay. I'm pretty sure they had the news back in the 70s. Not necessarily more eruptions, just better detection. That's not even 3 reasons. That's just the same reason reworded 3 different times. Okay. I'm telling you right now, to me personally, it seems like there is an increase, which is what Jesus says to look out for when regarding these omens. The frequency and the intensity, like a woman who is having birth pains about to deliver. All right. And that delivery leads us to the apocalypse. Now, this article says physicists say that we were completely wrong about how gravity works. Watch out when they use this word. Okay. Don't let them we all over you. Okay. There's no we. There's many of us over here on this side, okay, that know you were always wrong about not just how gravity works, but your concept of gravity is just the opposite of buoyancy. Okay? When something's buoyant, it floats up. This balloon right here is floating because it's lighter. The gases inside are lighter than the surrounding fluid. That's just simple buoyancy. It floats. Whenever the gases or the composition of this is denser, so if this was a rock, then it would sink. Okay? Sinking is now called gravity. It's just sinking. It's just the opposite of when something is buoyant and floating, right? When it's lighter than the surrounding substance. So it doesn't blow my mind that they say, oh, we're completely wrong about how gravity works. You're completely wrong in that there is a such thing as gravity. It's just things that sink. It's buoyancy. Okay? That's what it is. Let me give you an example. Okay? And this has a lot to do with the omens, all right? Because gravity is going bye-bye. Okay, let's just say there was a such thing as gravity. There's going to be anti-gravity everywhere on Earth. You think there's going to be flying cars in the future? You're right, because they're all going to float up into the air and get sucked up during the rapture whenever the sky depressurizes because the firmament rips open and all that pressure is released, right? And Archimedes' principle kicks in where all that weight of the atmosphere that escapes, keep that in mind because I'm going to tell you how much that is. All that weight that escapes our enclosed world will be equal to the buoyant force or weight that pushes objects up into the sky and essentially makes them weightless and float. How much is that? I believe it was 5.5 quadrillion tons, the weight of our atmosphere. Pressure. All around you, shrinking you down in size over time. That's how strong you are too. Okay, so imagine what it's going to be like when you go into this next world and there's not that much pressure and you're not working out constantly your muscles under all that pressure. You're going to be a superhero compared to those people that are born into that world. They'll be weak in comparison. You'll be much more dense. You'll be like Superman. Anyways, 5.5 quadrillion tons. That gravity is just holding back. And yet, this little balloon defies all of that. Oh, that's because of buoyancy, though, they would say, which is completely contradictory. They just completely partition their minds and ignore 5.5 quadrillion tons And then I ask about that cloud and why we don't walk around in constant fog. The clouds should just be on the ground. There should be fog and clouds at our feet. Or the ground is just wet and that's it. There's no clouds. There should not be anything in the sky whatsoever, especially this balloon right here. Right? If it can hold down and pull down 5.5 quadrillion tons, but buoyancy is so powerful, you know what I mean? They're all over the place. It pisses me off. Anyways, that's another omen of the apocalypse, is just the witchcraft and spellcraft that's been cast upon us to have us living in a state of constant acceptance of things that don't make any sense at all and don't stand up to solid reasoning and logic. Look at this beautiful picture. This is a photograph of the auroras, the northern lights. You see that? Let me jump out of the way and I want you to look at it for a moment, because some of you instantaneously will think it looks like something, right? They call this pareidolia. Pareidolia is what happens when people look at things and they see other things there, right? So these are lights in the sky. It might look like the head of a goose and feathers, and this is a peacock. I mean, to me, that's my pareidolia, okay? But it's not. Very clearly, it's not a peacock, right? But you can cartoonify it as one. You can imagine it as one. It can take on different concepts as a giant peacock or an eagle or whatever you see it as. You know, you can see a person up there, right? You can see all kinds of things. Now, just because somebody sees something, hold up, who's that? Jose Barba Podcast just gave me $10 out of the kindness of his heart. He says, keep crushing. Is the mint in firmament have to do with the mind? Ooh, I like that. And thoughts. I've been wrestling with that for a bit. Yeah, so the word firm is definitely in there. And mint, right, it actually stems from the word min. M-E-N, which is where we have Mensa, the group of people that are super intelligent or whatever. But yes, you're totally right on it. So that is the opening to what I call, this is a deeper conversation, but thank you for your donation. I believe beyond the firmament is what I call the mind of God, that we live in that mind, that we are thought, that we are a dream that God is having, basically. And if we were to open up the sky, we would see all the different dreams that are out there, all the different realities, all the different worlds, so to speak. Okay? And that is the firm portion that's blocking us from that knowledge, from that reality. Anyways, thank you very much. That was very kind of you. Now, back to this, pareidolia. So pareidolia is whenever you see something that is not really there because it looks like something else, right? So here it is again, right? Pareidolia might have you see, maybe a figure with its legs bent and it looks like it's running in the dark portion. You might see a bird or something. But we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Just because there is a such thing as pareidolia, when people look at a cloud and they see, whatever they see in the clouds or the aurora borealis, does not mean that when they look at something and they say, hey, that could be a petrified person over there. Sometimes no, sometimes it's pareidolia, but other times, yes. There's something that's the opposite of pareidolia. It's called, or I call it, psychological scotoma. Scotoma is whenever you can't see the obvious, something that really is there. Like if I showed you the aurora and you could not see an aurora, you just saw, that's the sky. You're like blind to the obvious, that it's right there. That would be psychological scotoma. Okay, and scotoma is whenever you can't see the obvious, or what is obvious to others at the very least. Okay, so there's balance there, right? Balance to be had. Now, why was I showing this whole deal? Let me jump out of the way. Green aurora will greet future Mars astronauts. NASA rover makes historic detection from the Martian surface. I keep clicking the wrong button. So, why are they showing you this? They're saying, expect to see the auroras on Mars. You know why? Remember, we're under a dome. There is no Mars planet that they've landed on. Okay? There's no moon that they've landed on. Those are luminaries. They're lights. They have tricked you. All right? There is only the Earth. a closed system, and it's all the Earth. From the dome to the underworld. That's the Earth, okay? So anytime they're going to show you Mars with northern lights, that means they're filming in the north, and they're telling you it's Mars. Me and a bunch of other people feel like it's probably Greenland, okay? Northern Greenland. But anyways, it doesn't matter. What does matter is our world will become Mars, basically. All right, so all this talk about going to the moon is cast by the firmament. It's a projection like we talked about earlier. So when they talk about going to the moon, they're really talking about trying to reach the firmament, okay? When they talk about going to Mars or preparing to go to Mars, they're talking about preparing to survive the apocalypse when our world becomes Mars, because the oceans will get sucked out. There will be no more ocean. All the places where the ocean was will be rusty sand. Basically, remember, it's a lot of oxygen is going to be rushing up, creating a new oxidation event. So there's going to be a lot of rust everywhere, which is why your post-apocalyptic movies, they know to make them orange tinted because it's freaking rust, basically, from all the oxygen. Where's I going with that? Oh, Mars, right? So our world is basically going to become Mars, okay? And so when they talk about getting to Mars, all the movies about Mars and all that stuff, that's just symbolic for the transition our very own world goes through when it shifts from a beautiful blue sky to a red sky like Mars. Remember, I was talking about the color spectrum shifts. And I believe that was it. Dang, look at that. That's it. Do I have 2 windows open? I do. Well, anyways, that was a fun Omens presentation, and I really enjoyed all of the different submissions that I've seen by you guys. I'm very sorry if I didn't share yours. But like I said, try to help me out. The more you can help me out so that I understand what I'm looking at, because I'm looking at lots of them and it's very time consuming. The quicker you are to help me to get right to the point, here's what it is. A short video or something that's time stamped at the very least. A short explanation, not like, if you write a book for me to read, I might not be able to read it. I might not have time to read it. I'll try. Okay, I'll try my best. I try to be very kind and stuff to everybody. But just help me out when you send me these submissions. Make it very simple and obvious what I'm looking at, what I'm checking out. And if you want a shout out, make sure you follow the instructions and put your name and location or your YouTube name or whatever, nickname, I don't care, in the subject line, right? And check out my website. Let's all check out my website real quick. We'll go to JayDreamerZ.com. Oh, and for those of you who have been paying attention, my website has secrets and has had secrets to it. Nobody's ever found the secrets though. So I've started leaving clues, okay, to help you guys out. All right. So some of you have already picked up on the main clue that I have left here on my channel, which is, it can be found under my posts tab. Okay. I'll just tell you that. I don't like telling people the answer to riddles, and I won't, but there are some hidden places here that you can go check out. In addition to that, there's just a very obvious, there's the Omens section. If you click on that, for example, as I will right now, it will actually show you the different viewer submissions that we've had over time. All the different things here, you can just hover over them and click on them or whatever, and they'll start playing all the different, like this is the whale one from a long time ago, right? And I'm trying to label all of them. This used to be for members only, but now it's not. Now it's actually free for everybody. You can check it out. You click on the Omens sign and you can upload your submission. And we also have Ancient Oblivion, of course. That's going to have everything fantastic but real. Elves, giants, titans, werewolves, vampires, the North Pole. All the North Pole stuff is in this section, okay? Plasma volcano, strange geology, mud fossils, etc. And then we've got the plasma apocalypse right over here, which is going to be added to in the next couple of weeks. There'll be even more sections over here, right? I'm almost running out of room. All right, sweet. Oh, hey, who was that? Jose Barba Podcast again. Thank you so much. You're very kind. High five, Jose. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you guys for your support. Thanks for your likes. Thanks for just watching. Thanks you for sharing all my stuff. I really appreciate it. From my homegrown channel to you, I appreciate it. So until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
so hard to fade away. But something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me if I turn away to leave. But there's something holding on in the way of being long gone. There's so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Far so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up.